Welcome to Conversations Live. For more than a decade, we've brought you the best in books, entertainment, celebrity interviews, and current events. When the movers and shakers of the world have something to say to you, they say it to us first. Here's your host, Cyrus Webb.
Welcome back, everyone, to Conversations Live. I'm your host, Cyrus Webb. Glad you all could join us once again. For our radio audience tuning in at WYAD 94.1 FM and WYADonline.com, we're glad that you all can be with us. Also, tuning in through iHeartRadio and Amazon Music, we're glad you all could join us as well. This is part of our News You Can Use segment here at WYAD, and as we've been talking about, October is recognized for a lot of different things. Of course, we've been really talking about National Book Month, but it also is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, as many of you guys may know, and that's why I'm really excited to welcome back our next guest. When I say the name Meaghan B, you know, of course, as someone who's normally sharing some helpful tips with us. We've discussed her book, Your Fully Charged Life, but today she's going to be talking about something that's very near and dear to her, and that is genetic testing and tools that are available to empower people to take action even before breast cancer diagnosis. We're going to talk to Meaghan not only about the decision to share her story, but also where you all can go for more information as well. Meaghan, thank you again for the time. Really do appreciate it.
Thank you, Cyrus. This is so important to me, and I'm really glad to be here with you.
Well, Meaghan, this is, as I was saying to you before we went live here, this is a different type of conversation than we typically are talking about with you, because typically you're sharing tips with our audience that kind of help us when it comes to our neighbors, you know, being able to do connections. But it's interesting, I never brought this up before, but in your book, Your Fully Charged Life, you talked about one thing that really did define your life and shape your life, and that is the death of your father to pancreatic cancer. You talk about that. But when it comes to breast cancer and breast cancer awareness, why was this something that you were concerned about having a diagnosis of breast cancer?
So you're right, Cyrus. I've been incredibly affected and impacted by cancer. My mom is a 2-time breast cancer survivor. So I watched my mom battle breast cancer twice. Nearly every woman on my mom's side of the family has had breast cancer or is currently undergoing breast cancer treatment. So it was really scary for me. I also had incredibly dense breasts. So although I was being very vigilant with my breast health, I was getting my mammograms, I was having follow-up sonograms and breast MRIs, I then ultimately had a lump. And it was one of those things where I got it biopsied on a Thursday, held my breast the entire weekend, like hugging my kids a little bit tighter, to find out on Monday, by the grace of God, it was benign. But it was at that moment that I looked, and my breast surgeon and I looked at each other and said, we need a full picture of your risk here. We need to know what's going on. And so that's when I turned to Invitae and did genetic testing. And for me, it really empowered me with information. We know knowledge is power, and this genetic information showed me that I had change in the DNA of my CHEK2 gene. I think a lot of us know about BRCA1 and BRCA2, and that those variations put you at higher risk for breast cancer. I hadn't heard of the CHEK2 gene variant, but I looked at that, and I met with my genetic counselor, and I found out that between my dense breasts, my extensive family history, and this change in the DNA of my CHEK2 gene, I was at very high risk for breast cancer. My husband's mother had breast cancer too. We lost my father-in-law to kidney cancer. So Cyrus, I wanted to be as proactive as humanly possible, to be here for my kids and to undergo this radical double mastectomy before I had, a cancer diagnosis. Before my body decided for me, I wanted to make that decision and empower myself with that information.
And Meaghan, you've been very open about that. I've seen your stories on Instagram where you have shared photos just recently even, being able to kind of take us through that journey. You're being a public figure. Was that an easy decision for you to make?
It was an incredibly hard decision, right? Because I'm considered a previvor, someone who has proactively or preventatively taken charge of my health and undergone this procedure. I feel so lucky. I've seen chemo. I've seen radiation. I know what it's like to wake up from your double mastectomy and just pray to God it's all gone, right?
Yeah.
So this felt like a luxury. I felt a teeny bit of guilt at first, being a previvor versus a survivor like my mom. But again, I knew that I was otherwise healthy and that I would be able to recover more quickly from this really hard surgery. And then I would have this platform to share information about genetic testing and my journey with Invitae. I feel so incredibly lucky to be in charge of my health here in some small way and to do as much as I possibly can to live long and strong for my family.
And Meaghan, you talk about in your book, Your Fully Charged Life, about vulnerability is not something that's always been easy for you publicly, especially when it comes to things like, and I think a lot of people in the public deal with that when it comes to, showing emotion and crying and, how that's perceived. But what has it been like for you to hear from women about how much your story has inspired and empowered them?
Well, it's really incredible, and I do a lot of research around resilience, and I have absolutely learned that part of this prescription for building resilience is to share your stories. And when I'm able to make my message and to connect with others and to realize I'm an expert in my own life and that I can actually affect change and impact others, that's incredibly, incredibly useful and powerful for me in my own, journey to build resilience and to do things with grit and grace.
You talk about research, so I want to go back to something you said, and we're going to let our audience know where they can get more information about genetic testing, Meaghan. But you talked about, of course, your love of research. We see that in the book as well. But when it came to your health, what would you say to our audience about the importance of that, advocating for themselves and educating themselves?
Cyrus, I was going day to day, month to month in fear. Right? Was this going to be the screening? Was this going to be the breast cancer diagnosis? It felt for me not if, it felt like when, because I didn't really understand the complete picture of my risk. As soon as I underwent that in vitro testing, I knew what I was dealing with. I knew that I was at high risk. I knew that I had this genetic variation, and that in combination with all these other factors was putting me at high risk. And now I also knew that I could do something about it. And I'm all about microactions, moving onward, creating momentum, and this felt so empowering. And it was like a weight was lifted from me. It was no longer stewing and ruminating and worrying. I had a chance to do something. And I think the second we can take action, it really gets rid of all those roadblocks.
Yeah, such a great point. And thank you so much again for using your platform to do exactly what you're doing, Meaghan. Again, everyone, Meaghan B. Murphy is our guest. We're talking with her not only about how genetic testing helped her to not only, of course, to become empowered when it comes to her health and her life, but also to take action before a breast cancer diagnosis, and especially as we're looking at October as Breast Cancer Awareness Month. So, Meaghan, for our audience out there that want to find out more information about genetic testing, where is the best place for them to go?
So talk to your doctor. Everybody talk to your doctors and see if genetic testing is right for you. And go to invitae.com for more information. That is invitae.com. Invitae.com.
All right. Meaghan, again, thank you again. Really appreciate the time. Definitely want to encourage our audience also, of course, to get her book, Your Fully Charged Life. Very inspiring and empowering there as well. And Meaghan, looking forward to speaking with you again.
Thank you, Cyrus. Always a pleasure.
Yes, same here. And we thank your audience for tuning in to another great segment of Conversations Live. Again, part of a News You Can Use segment here at WYAD. Until next time, I'm your host, Cyrus Webb, saying as always, enjoy your day, enjoy your life, enjoy your world. Thank you all for choosing Conversations Live. Let us go make today amazing. Take care.